All right, good morning, y'all. This is Rev Bruce. Want to make sure you are ready and prepared. This is Coffee and Chat with Rev Bruce. And guess what? It's a holiday weekend. Hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. You know what I mean? It's a good time. The weather is changing. The time is getting ready to change. And I hope you're ready for this. Now, today is a little different. I do things a little different on holiday weekends. I try not to impose upon my guests and get them to take away from their family and friends and things of that nature. So I try to spend a little bit of time working on getting people to understand more about what's going on, what's behind the show. And today I wanted to just really pull back and look at what's behind Coffee and Chat, what's behind LifePath Multimedia. What are we really trying to do, and how are we doing it? How am I getting this thing up and rolling? And just so you know, this isn't the first part of LifePath Multimedia. This has been a venture that I've been working with since 2008, right? That was back then, early in my ministry. 2006, I was blessed. I was blessed with inspiration for this whole thing that we come to know as LifePath Multimedia. And so let me just share this with y'all. This is just part of, where I am with, my ministry and everything. And it starts here with inspiration, right? The whole point of this show is to inspire someone. The whole point of just about everything that is LifePath Multimedia is to either inspire or impact someone in a positive way. And so when we look at what inspiration is, inspiration, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, is something that moves someone to act, create, or feel an emotion. I mean, take that into consideration. When we talk about being an inspiration, sometimes we think real high and we start talking about, Martin Luther King and Helen Keller and Franklin Delano Roosevelt and individuals that have overcome these astronomical struggles or have done this fully dynamic thing to, change the world and win Nobel Peace Prizes. But what about the person around the corner? Or what about the person in the corner office? Or what about the person who's running that church that you see people come in and out of, day by day and Sunday by Sunday, and you're trying to figure out how does that person keep going? What got that person started? What motivated that person? What about the person who's in the field that you want to go into, and you look at them and you see, hey, they've gone through some things, but what they're showing you inspires you. From our people of faith out there, here it goes. It's like when God breathed into man. That was to inspire. That was to breathe life into man. And so man didn't become a living being until God breathed into man. And so that's what inspiration is. And so we're trying to breathe life into folks. And so that's where part of this is coming from. That's where we're, moving along with this whole idea of not just a live stream, but also it's a live stream, it's the podcast, it's the newsletter, it's the blog. All of this is wrapped up together in moving towards inspiring people and impacting people's lives to be different. And so not only is that what inspiration means, this is really where I got, my inspiration from. It happened, and I look at it And this text is why this ministry is called Life Path. This text is why I can go back and look at some things and say, man, God was laying it out for me even before I could, fully see it. Listen, if God gives you something, he may not give it to you completely in that one sitting, but trust and believe this. God can lay it out for you. You have to walk into it. You have to follow it. And I have to say, praise be to God for what he's given me. Just in this passage here, it says, you will show me the path of life. That's where I get Life Path from. And it says, in your presence is the fullness of joy, at your right hand are pleasures forevermore. And when we think about that, your plans need to fit into his path for you. Your plans need to fit into God's plan. You got plans, but there's a bigger picture. And how do your plans fit into God's plan? Not how does God fit into your plan? That's backwards. We need to go the other way and see how we fit into God's plan. And there's a blessing in his presence. A fullness of joy is there. And listen, somebody out there knows, the blessings of the Lord make one rich, right? And they add no sorrow to them. So yeah, they ought to be full of joy if they're adding no sorrow to them. And at the right hand is the position, right? That's the biblical position of providence. That's the biblical position of being in a good place. And so the right hand, right, of God provides pleasure forevermore, right? It'll be pleasing. It'll be enjoyable. And so think about it. That's how Life Path Ministries was born. That's how Life Path Multimedia was born. And another aspect that I do is Life Path Mobile Ministry. I'm not a pastor of a traditional, conventional church or anything like that. My ministry is evangelism. My ministry is out there in the streets with, quote unquote, as what the red letters of the Bible of Jesus said, the least of these. I'm out there for the people that may not have a pastor. They're the sheep without a shepherd. And so that's where I try to go and touch folks. It's whether it be in the jail, whether it be on the streets, and with gangs and streetwalkers and folks like that, and people who are without homes, right? People who are suffering from being exposed and exploited. And so, listen, y'all, it's not for everybody. Just like being a pastor in a pulpit isn't for everybody. And so, I trust God with that, and I trust that people are blessed because of it. And so, it was about, I say, 2013 when I really, I was already doing, my blog. I was already doing, I was doing my blog. I was doing some other stuff. I was writing online for a lot of people. And that's when, I was doing Life Path as a freelance business, Life Path Ministries and Services. And I've been doing it. In 2008, I had already published, 2 books of inspirational poetry. I'll share those later on. But right now, fast forward from 2008, getting it started, getting it set up, to 2013, I was in a place where I was already talking about video and podcasting and blogging, expanding that into a new dimension. But let me tell you something. Maintain your confidence. Maintain your confidence in yourself. If nobody else can be a cheerleader for you, you need to be the biggest cheerleader for you. If nobody else can be a support system for you, you need to be your own support system. And if your current friends are not helping you, if your current friends and family aren't helping you, guess what? Expand your circle. Expand your sphere. Expand not so much the sphere of your influence, but the sphere of influence on you. Expand your counselors, right? It says by wise counsel, we will achieve success, and by a multitude of counselors. But listen, you need the right folks with you at the right time to keep pushing you. And, I thank God for some of the people I've had on here that have been some of those pushers in my life. You know what I mean? To where they've been able to urge me and move me along. I thank God, for Dr. V, who's coming here and shared about being the principal of Oceanside and being an educational leader, but just the whole dynamics, of beyond systems analysis, but being able to urge people along towards their destiny. That's amazing. That's powerful. And you need that. You need that to move forward. And so listen, 2013, I didn't have the confidence I needed. But, in that gap of time between 2013 and 2017, God was still feeding me, right? And you still got to be receptive to being fed. And so keep in mind, man, this is not just me talking about it. This is me sharing from experience. This is how I came to this place of where this ministry, this multimedia is, because I wasn't comfortable, and some people in church weren't comfortable with it. Well, why don't you pastor? Why don't you do those things? Because I don't feel God leading me that way. And the worst thing you want to have is a man of God doing something that God hasn't directed him to do, right? Check that out. You don't want a man of God doing something that God has not directed him to do. So I definitely adhere to that voice. I definitely adhere to that urging. I definitely adhere to that, unction that folks talk about. When we talk about the unction, the function, that is part of understanding and discerning. We don't talk about discernment a lot. Discerning what God is telling you, where God is directing you. And for me, that inspiration for this has been there. I haven't always known how to make it fit. And so, boom, COVID hits. People are doing stuff online, and I'm already planning on working on some stuff behind the scenes on some campaign work and voter registration and getting out there and doing some mobilizing. And then, bam, this COVID thing hits, and I'm shocked. The world's shocked. Everything's all in disarray, and the world is pushed forward online. You know what I mean? And I just want to know, this is definitely the truth. I already had stuff planned for, I'm going to do this in September. And in the midst of COVID, I said, I got to do this in June. And so, boom, I launched, let up and set up for the podcast and the playlist, how to put that together. And then I set up for this whole thing with definitely the blessing of YouTube and live streaming. I want to give credit to Sean Cannell and Think Media and the training that I got with, hashtag, grow with video. I didn't know what I was getting ready to get myself into, but here I am. And part of it was, he said, punch fear in the face. He said, punch fear in the face. Sean's a man of faith. He's a Christian, but that applies to anybody. You ain't got to go to church to do that. You ain't got to go to church to face your fears and fight that off. You need to know that your fear isn't more powerful than your faith. Your fear isn't more powerful than what's already within you. And so take that and punch that fear in the face, knock it out, and go forward. Here I am. Hey, can I be transparent? Here I am. Speech impediment. Here I am. Losing my sight. I never had to wear glasses before, but here I am. Boom. Punching fear in the face, doing it because as a person of faith, I'm going to do what I can while I can with what I already have. And if he gives me more, I'm going to use that. So this is how we got the Life Path. This is how we got the Life Path multimedia. And in doing that, let me tell you where we stand, right? And this is, this is one of the things I love about it, man. There's that inspiration, but to go along with that, Gary Vee gave me inspiration, right? I looked at Gary Vee and what he did. I discovered Gary Vee years ago in Entrepreneur magazine, talking about being a wine cellar. But then all of a sudden, Gary Vee, his usage of social media and documenting and creating and making connections was so strong, he's become more powerful as a social media influencer than many other people. And so I give it to Gary Vee, and this is one of the things that he said: document, don't create. And so making sure that I keep the show on the playlist. If you ever miss the show, if you ever miss, Coffee and Chat, check out the playlist. Check out what were the past episodes. Hey, it's all not live. That's why we maintain the playlist, so you can go back and check it out. Hey, listen, you know what? It's there not for me to look back and brag about. It's there for me to look back and analyze, but it's also there for somebody to discover, right? Somebody to find out and discover some of these stories, because the inspiration that I've been led to really create a platform for are people who have struggles and success, everyday people who are doing something that makes it tangible to you, to where you can say, well, man, I can do that. If listen, when you look at somebody like me and say, well, if God can do that for him, I know he can do something for me. I know he can bless me. And so please understand it. This is just part of it. And I'm going to keep going. Right. And so Gary Vee was an influence. Like I said, Sean Cannell was an influence. Looking at these, these people that have been inspiring to me in different ways has been powerful. And so let's switch gears for a minute. A lot of the people I bring on here, like I said, everyday people. They're doing something, but they might not be on your radar, right? They're doing something. They may not be somebody you readily heard of. But check this out. This is amazing, right? I'll give it up to my first guest, Viet Mai. Viet and I worked together at school program, and now I look at Viet and I'm so impressed. I'm so, I'm just glad for him. And when I think about it, these are things that happen. And then, he allowed me to share with him, and we did this first episode. So, blessings to Viet, for allowing me to work with him and get that kicked off. And, I know it's not the easiest thing for folks to see and understand that, this is my ministry. This is part of my ministry. And I want to bless somebody. And so in that, this is just part of, what I got going on. I just dropped the blog link in there, in the comments, so be sure to, definitely check that out. And what I'm doing in the blog currently, and I'm just going to be transparent, I am finishing up a series on this whole thing about the inspiration biz and how I got settled on being in the business of inspiration, being in this aspect as well as in this ministry, this whole thing of multimedia. And so personally, I've struggled on how to finish this series, because when God is giving something to you at the same time and you're trying to tell the story, man, it can be overwhelming, because you don't know where to put the cork back in the bottle. You don't know where to say, the end, because guess what? It's may not be happily forever after, but it is still going. He is still blessing, and so I'm not done. And so I'm definitely settled on this not being a 3-part series. I'm doing part 3 tomorrow. I'm posting part 3 tomorrow, so definitely check that out. And that's right there on WordPress. But I believe at this point, God has told me this is going to be a 4-part series, because there's so much that I'm adding to this. There's so much more that's going on that I need to share with folks. And so this has been a blessing for me. And so shift gears. Right now, I share with my guests, who's in the lead for a podcast, who's in the lead for the playlist and the top views. And right now I got 2 shows that are, competing for the top views. And so I got 2 shows that are competing for the top views. One of these shows is at, just over 180 views. And, that's the show that we had with Aldo Chavez, right? And Aldo shared some things. And so that's the link to his show right there. And Aldo's topping out at 180 plus views, right? And it's amazing because we spoke and it was just an ongoing sharing of what the community needs and how we as people within the community, no matter what color, people within the community working together, what we need to do in facing COVID, what we need to do in making youth development stronger, what we need to do in improving education, what we need to do in improving our overall social unity as people. That was important. And so it was great to get Aldo's perspective and to see what they were doing and also to talk about that. But number two is a show that was Dr. V, Dr. Jose Manuel Villarreal, right? And we were actually talking about his dad. We did a show for our students in Latinos in Action. And for that show, we had worked with students on the whole concept of Si Se Puede, right? And all of that and where that came from. And the whole idea, is it Dolores Huerta? Is it Cesar Chavez? And Dr. V, his father, having worked, intimately with Chavez and Huerta, I brought him on and said, hey, tell us about that. And man, that show has been a mind blower. And, check it out. It's a lot of history into the great boycott, Dolores Huerta, Cesar Chavez, and Dr. V's own father, who was instrumental in that, United Farm Workers aspect. And so those 2 shows are like battling. They go back and forth. And Dr. V's like right in the high 170s and Aldo's at 180. And so, check it out. Give them some love. Share some comments when you see it. And, for my man Noah out there, I saw your comment. And I know I love the show with your dad too. So definitely God bless with those 2. But trip off this. So that's on the video playlist. But on the podcast, I try to get in there and make sure that, my podcast is ready. And, I got some more updates to do on the podcast. The last couple of shows, probably since I had the Chat and Chew crew on. And so I still need to add some updates for that, some edits. But the podcast leaders tend to be the ones that have the lower video viewers. And the podcast leaders are Nassar Garganu, Viet Mai, Isaiah Thomas, and Lakeisha Suwumi. And so those people tend to be the leaders of the podcast. Nasara and Viet go back and forth from week to week as far as leaders. But people tune in on the podcast. Check those out. That's the podcast. I got it on Anchor. Anybody interested in podcasting, Anchor is a definite venue that is available. You know, I learned about it from Gary Vee. You know, you can do it off your phone. You can do it off your desktop. It's simple. The editing is great. They've got a distribution with Spotify. And, man, I love it. You know, because guess what? I'm all about free. I'm all about simple. And if it works, it works, right? That's what I love. It works. And so keep that in mind. This is the podcast. And so the podcast leaders are Nasar Gargano and Viet Mai going neck and neck. And then you've got Isaiah Thomas, council member out of Philly. He was on here before. And Lakeisha Suwumi. All right. And everybody else tends to fit in between on either one. But, man, you got to check those out. That's the playlist. You know, the playlist for Coffee and Chat, right? The playlist is doing well, right? I'm excited about it, and it's always good to have people know that, you know, no matter what, this is still God directed me. And so I want to push and go a little forward about what I got coming up. What I got coming up, some of this stuff is definitely a joy. And I'm excited to be doing it. And so that's the Coffee and Chat playlist right there on YouTube. You know, check it out. Check out the different videos. You can check out the whole YouTube channel. I've got some other videos, movement and motivation, some, you know, short elements of, you know, ministry moments, and boom. So now I'm shifting to where I can actually say this with all of my, you know, of my breath and know that I'm still doing the right thing. I am so happy that one of our prior guests and I will be doing this coming up. This is, boom, right here. We're going to be doing the lunch hour Bible study, right? We're going to be doing that with both Pastor Powell and myself, right? It'll be at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, starting this coming Wednesday, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, right? And for y'all that, you know, right? I will share the link, but it's coming up. If you're subscribing, you'll get a notification. It's all set up. 12 p.m. next Wednesday. We're talking about the tabernacle versus the temple. And so come, you know, check it out. You know, this will be number 2 in the Bible study series. I'm excited, man. I am truly excited. I am, man, I want to get this done and get this moving because there's so much to go along with this. And I am truly happy. I'll share with you. This is the first Bible study session I did in July, and that was just on the temple. And this is the link for it right here. And what else I got coming up? I got 2 books coming out, right? I'm working on them on Amazon. And one I might do as an ebook exclusive, right? That's in addition to these other 2 books I got coming out. So definitely look out for that. Like I said, I'm finishing up the blog series. And so this blog series is it's near and dear to me because I've if nothing else, I've gotten more transparent in 2020. And so, I want to get this blog series out and done and to the people, because I got some more stuff that God's already lined up for me to do and share. But man, I gotta do what's at hand first. And so this is where I'm at. And there's some guests that I want to bring in. Listen. Sharif, I know you're watching. And so I'm trying to get you in here. I'm trying to get you in here and talk about that experience, but also get somebody else in here that's been through it and can share with you. And so, girl, when the time is right, it'll be right. And we can attack this cancer. We can attack this thing about chemo. Let me tell you all about chemo. When you want to try and fix something by killing everything and then seeing if it lives, then we can work with it, then God bless. But guess what? We can still attack this cancer. And so I got faith. And so I'm trying to get, my sister in here. And listen, I'm trying to get, there's some artists that I'm trying to get. There's a chef that is, man, when COVID, this brother was trying to open his restaurant, grand opening for his restaurant. And the Friday of that, they shut everything down. And so, man, I'm trying to get this brother in here. And so, listen, y'all, I've got some people I'm trying to line up that will share with you and show you that if you hold on and if you hold on, tight enough, you'll make it. You'll get through it. Listen, to wrap it up, I hope somebody gets something out of this. I hope somebody gets something out of this show. I hope somebody, somewhere, somehow, if nothing else, if I might get some trolls, I might get some other folks, but if nothing else, I want somebody to be impacted. I want somebody to be inspired. I want somebody to come to know that there is hope. There is a little bit of help. What was bad yesterday doesn't have to be bad today. What you've lived through for a reason, and lived through and come through and come out of it better than you were before. And don't let it hold you back. Listen, I am grateful for everything that I learned in church, but I'm also grateful for everything that I learned as I moved along here in faith. And so guess what? This is the time, right? This is the time for somebody. This is the time for somebody to get all of what they need and all of what they need to keep going. So please understand this. I want you to be better. I want you to be better than me. I want you to be better than your yesterday. I want you to be better, and I want to be part of helping you getting there. And so, listen, y'all, this is why I do this. It's the reason why I do this. This is why I've been inspired to do this. I share the scripture. You know what I mean? That's the reason for, coffee and chat. That's it. That's what it is. It goes back to that meaning for inspiration. It goes back to who I am and who God has made me. And so, listen, I love y'all for just bearing with me. Next week, we're back to guests. And so understand this. On the holidays, I don't try to get guests in here, like I said, because of family and friends, and I respect that quality time, and I wouldn't take that from anybody. And secondly, this is a time for me to reflect, catch up, and inform, and keep this thing pushing. Finally, listen, the podcast, if you go to the podcast, it's on Anchor, like I said. It's also available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all these different things. But you know what? My podcast is listener supported. So if you want to put anything on there, cool. You know, I'm an Amazon associate. And so when you check out the playlist, if you see something, you know, shoes, anything that I share, you know, camera equipment, all that, you know, click on the link, go through there, get what you get from Amazon. I'll get a piece of it. That's being straightforward and honest. If any of the books that I share from Amazon, I'll get a piece of it. But listen, from June to August, I've only made 13 cents on, you know, sales from Amazon. So it's not, I'm not in it for, you know, making a killing. I'm just in it to make it keep going. You know what I mean? So, you know, click on it, order something, and, you know, that's cool. But if not, get on here and get what you need. Don't do it for me. Get on here and get what you need, and God bless, and that'll be straight, and I'll be okay with it. So you know what? Check it out. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Do something good for somebody else, but especially do something good for yourself. And bless somebody. But most of all, know that you're beautiful and you can make this life beautiful. Know that you are powerful and you can use that power to change somebody else's life as well as your own. It ain't as bad as they're telling you, and it ain't as bad as you think. You have enough power to have so much more than what you got going on right now. God be with you. And I trust and believe that somebody got something out of this. And if nothing else, you know that somebody like me can make this happen. You know it can happen for you. God bless and enjoy your day.